Headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Let's just look at this story of the theatre company in Bristol that's advertised a sex play for families, and this is aimed at children aged 5 and over who are encouraged to come along. It's been described as an alternative to porn. It includes full frontal adult nudity and stories about sexual pleasure. A petition to scrap the family sex show has started online, already received 23,000 signatures. Let's speak to Fleur Meston, who's a Bristol resident. Fleur, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Nice to have you with us. And not exactly I mean, we all like a bit of theatre, but you weren't expecting this to turn up, right?
No, I followed Tobacco Factory Theatres on Twitter because I wanted to see if there's any shows on that I might fancy going to, and that is certainly one I wouldn't fancy going to, but I was curious. Family sex show it's not something I've heard of before, so I clicked on the link, and the stuff I found, I was just so shocked by how this is allowed to happen. I have no idea. What
did you discover? Because I saw one of the videos where everybody, or some of the people in the cast, were explaining who they were, and they were telling me their pronouns, which I thought was very, very sensible thing to do, obviously. Otherwise, I'd have been really confused as to who they were. So I got that much from it. But I guess they would say, no, it's not really sex. It's something else.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about this online. There's a few threads on the Mumsnet website where the majority of the mums are really angry, but some are saying, no, this is good, this is progressive sex education. The Josie, who is in charge of this whole show, she says this is what I would have wanted to see when I was a child. But I just think, how have the majority of people managed to come through school with sex education and they didn't require their teachers to strip naked and point to their private parts to get the message across? It's very strange.
That's very... I mean, if I was about 14 and I'd been taken to a theatre show with the school like that, you know, as a 14-year-old schoolboy, we'd have just been sniggering, I'd imagine, throughout. But when it comes to younger kids, I think that's... I don't want to sound prudish, and I'm sure, Fleur, you're in the same place as me on this, but I think that would be a little bit uncomfortable for... I mean, I've got an 8-year-old. I think he would be mortified to sit there, especially if he was with me as well, or his mum sitting there watching this, or his school teachers or whatever. It just sounds all shades of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I have a qualification in early years education, so I can teach up to 5, and I know the curriculum, and I know what kind of questions they ask at that age. And yes, we are encouraged to teach them the correct body parts, the correct names for them, and the thing is, you want to answer a question when it comes to you, but don't force it upon them before they're ready. And the age recommendation is 5+, but that's a recommendation, and younger children are allowed to go and see this show. But what scared me is I can so see this coming into schools. They already advertise on the website. If you want to do a group booking for a school trip, then they'll do a discount. It's insane. I'm so scared that this will end up being in schools.
Yeah, and also there is this kind of peculiar thought thing by often some educationalists and councils, that will only see this as a very positive thing. And if it's upsetting, people like you and me, then therefore they think they're doing something right. Do you know what I mean by that? There's a strange resistance to those that might have genuine concerns.
Yeah, because they label it as progressive and moving forward.
But since when has a theatre company, though, Fleur, had to educate our kids on sex?
I know. There's a reason there's a curriculum and it's age appropriate. This is not. If this was the right way to teach it, then it would already be in schools. It's clearly not the right way, and that's evident because the outrage online has been huge. There's been very few people defending this.
And the theatre company themselves, that their defence is that it's just educational, that it's not base, it's not crude, it's all done in a very tasteful, educative way, I guess would be their response.
I've looked at the pictures in their gallery and they are far from tasteful. They are adults simulating having sex with their clothes on.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm not kidding. It's disgusting. But there has been huge outrage over it. So the people defending it are in the minority. But Bath Theatre have had to private their Twitter account because of the backlash they were getting, and they're picking up the phone.
Which isn't what the fact that a public theatre has to go private on there, what would normally be used for the for promotional purposes, is quite telling, I guess.
Yeah, it just shows they know exactly how bad it is, and they can't defend it.
There is I don't know what the rules are, maybe you know more than me on this, Fleur, but there is a sort of an obscenity thing with theatres that they wouldn't be allowed, or their own code or the law of the land would say you can't show this if if a couple were to literally have sex on stage, of course that wouldn't be allowed. And so they have rules. One assumes that whether we like it or not, this theatre company has somehow stayed within those rules.
It seems so, because I've seen some legislation, but there's always a tiny loophole that they're managing to get through.
Like they've kept their clothes on when they simulate sex, maybe.
Yeah, but then later in the show they take their clothes off. Because it's done at different times, it's okay.
I mean, I went to see a West End show once where there was nudity in it. It was the Graduate, where there is a famous film, of course, it was Kathleen Turner, the Hollywood actress, where she drops her dress momentarily, and then it goes dark, etc. This is an adult play. It's, an intelligent play. But even that had warnings on it in case some people were a bit upset. This is for kids, for goodness sake.
Yeah, when you're an adult, you can make the conscious decision that you're fine to see that. A child can't make that decision. A 5-year-old child cannot say, yes, Mummy, I want to go and see strangers take their clothes off on stage for money. They can't. There's a reason we've got sort of the age of consent, because they don't properly comprehend what sexual things are at that age. How could they? Yeah.
Listen, Fleur, good luck with the campaign and anyone who's signing up to that as well. Thank you, Fleur Meston, who's a Bristol resident who's just a bit confused, I think, like the rest of us, as to why this theatre company have put together a thing called the Family Sex Show, which includes, Fleur telling us there, sort of simulated sex with clothes on and nudity. It's to an audience of those age 5, yes, 5 and upwards. It's claimed to be an alternative to porn. And the idea is to educate in some level. What parent would take their kid to see that? I mean, quite seriously, what parent would take their kid to see that? If I took my 8-year-old to something like that, he would be absolutely mortified. Who, out of nowhere the other day, managed to describe his own little bits and pieces as his crown jewels. It's like, didn't 1970s comedians stop saying that? But yes, I mean, he would be oh my goodness, he would be mortified at the thought of something. Why would I want my kid to see that?
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.